good evening. I'm Melisa Idris. Welcome to The Future is Female. This is the show where we find the extraordinary in every woman. I'm here at the auditorium in Sasana Kijang in KL for the National Climate Governance Summit 2024, where my guest today was a speaker. National Polar Explorer Dr. Sharifah Mazlina, Syed Abdul Kadir, Chairperson of the NGO All Women Empowerment to Accelerate. Now, in 2004, Dr. Sharifah Mazlina became the first Asian woman to cross to the South Pole solo. Now, 3 years later, she reached the North Pole. 3 years later, she reached the North Pole, making her the first Asian woman to reach both North and South Poles. She then went to Greenland in 2011 to complete her polar head trip expedition. She returned to the South Pole in 2018, leading an all-women expedition. So I'm delighted and honoured to have her on the show. Dr. Sharifah Mazlina, thank you for being here today.
It's a pleasure being here.
I'm so curious to know what led you to this journey to become a polar explorer, especially coming from tropical country of Malaysia.
Actually, I didn't plan to be a polar explorer. I started way back in 2000 when I did my master's in psychology, and I'm specialized in mental strength, and I created my own psychological formula called MAPS concept, acronym to mental, emotional, physical, social, and spiritual strength. So it's like an equalizer to make someone become balanced, and you can actually perform well if you know how to balance up all these 5 elements. So when I completed my master's, and then the professor says, hey Sharifah, this is a kind of a new kind of formula, upgrading from the old formula in psychological, especially on motivational factors. So why don't you do something about it, and go enhance it and polish it so that it become a real good formula motivation. So I said, when I came back to Malaysia, I was seconded to UiTM. Then before that, I was actually with Maju Sukan Negara because of Commonwealth Game. And then I went to UiTM and become a lecturer in sports science. Then I implemented this psychological formula to the students. And surprisingly, we can see that the students become a good mental trainer team. So every time they go to a new semester, then the lecturers will ask, who's the mental trainer here? Then once somebody put up their hands, they said, okay, class rep. No need to vote. They straight away become a class rep, because proven that all the mental trainers that I've trained them, they become a very good student.
Okay. They
are really outgoing. They are good in almost all aspects. So, and I don't know how somehow a professor from Sweden by the name of Professor Lars Unistal, he has an academy on mental training, academy in Sweden. So he heard about me. So he invited me to go to Russia, to St. Petersburg, and present the paper at the World Forum in St. Petersburg. And then he took me to Sweden to make a workshop. And he was so impressed. And then out of all of the participants from all over the world, they are all very senior professor and psychologists. And they said, wow, Sharifah, we are amazed with your new formula. So it's like contemporary kind of motivational formula on mental strength, emotional, and all that. So they said, but one thing for sure, on paper it looks so ideal. But you have to test on someone or yourself, go to a very extreme situation with a very minimum support, and see whether you can really succeed.
So your journey to the South Pole began testing mental perseverance, testing the strength of mental perseverance.
Yes. Not only mental, it's the 5 elements: mental, emotional, physical, social, and spiritual. Okay. I want to test on this because Antarctica is not that easy. We are talking about.
Tell me how it was tested in Antarctica.
It started when I start to plan my journey. I have to make my own proposal. So I have to really coordinate everything. Do I have a good mental strength? So like I have to see, review every consequences, like frostbite, injuries, like stranded, and then the temperature. We are talking about minus 50, 60 Celsius. So. And a long duration of hours to cross, and I need a lot of energy for my physical strength.
So 22 days, right? You have to endure this extreme weather, extreme cold. Talk to me about the challenges you faced and the perseverance needed to overcome it.
All right. The challenge is that, number one is the temperature. So yes, from Malaysia So we have 36 Celsius.
We're not used to the cold.
But of course, I did a lot of training before that. I trained most of the time in Norway. Then to some other closest place, what you call cold places, for the simulation. And then I go to Antarctica.
Dr. Sharifah, what is negative 50, 60 degrees like?
Oh, okay.
Explain it to us. I can't even imagine what that's like.
If you have a hot water, just boil hot water. If you want to make a coffee, you make it and then you stir it for 1 or 2 times. You can blow it like 1 or 2 times and then quickly drink it. Because if you wait more than few seconds, it's going to turn to be icicle.
This is from boiling water?
Boiling water. So even the boiling water spill on my hand, I feel, oh, so nice.
Okay, all right. So the weather was one, of course, the temperature.
One of the challenges is the temperature.
Okay.
And the second one is the chill factor when comes the wind blowing very, very strong. So I have problems and very big challenge to set up the tent. Because this is the most crucial part, because after walking about 10 hours a day, I have a limit, I have a distance which I need to cover, like 40 kilometers per day using ski sailing and all that. And then not only that, I have to spare my energy at least 2 hours to pitch up the tent. And that is the challenging part, because one, I'm already tired. Two, when the wind comes, it's going to be a real disaster if I miss the tent and the tent will be blown out by the wind. And
you will have no shelter.
I have no shelter. Yeah. And normally people, for polar explorer who have that kind of experience, you have to quickly to call the SOS for the rescue to come and evacuate, because otherwise, so far, maximum 2 days, you're going to die. Oh, wow. Maximum, we are talking about maximum. Because the moment you stop, there is no body temperature, you're going to be like, you know, tense and shake, and then you can't even hold your finger like that.
Did you feel the 22 days? Did it feel like a long time, or did it just pass by?
Well, it's like a yo-yo. You know, the first beginning when I entered, I was so excited. I thought, wow, this is it.
The adrenaline.
The adrenaline is there. It's really rushed out, and I was like so high up there. And then after going through a few days, I start feeling the body aching and all that. So then it drops. But then again, I'm testing my formula. So I always tell myself, I have one keyword. Don't be afraid of the challenge. Be afraid to be a failure. So I keep on telling myself here, no, this is challenge that you have to overcome. This is challenge that I'm testing my formula. If I fail this one, then formula is gone. So I am so afraid to be a failure. First, to be afraid of a failure of my own psychological formula. So I have to prove it right. So that's how I shoot up back. I do a lot of mental training in the tent. I repair my kits, my kits, whatever I'm using, like my ski skin on that. And of course, I have a lot of injuries, frostbite. We're talking about frostbite on my fingers.
You suffered frostbite?
Oh yes, I have frostbite. You can see my pictures later on. I have frostbite here, frostbite on the nose. I have frostbite on my fingers. I have to like go to the hospital and pull out my nails. A lot of injuries as well. Dislocated my knee, and then I got ankle problem as well. Throughout all this, I have a lot of. But then, I already set my mind. I already do a lot of mental training, which I said, I read, I look at the pictures, I study what's going to happen and how to overcome it. So these are the things that...
What is remarkable to me is after this very first time of the challenge and proving to yourself and that your formula works, you still went on 5 other expeditions.
That's the proof that formula works. Yeah.
You proved it once, but you proved it again 5 times more. And again. So 6 times in total.
True. Then I become like an adrenaline junkie. I don't know why. And then that's not only, you know, for your information, every time I did my expedition, like I have like lay off for a few years. Like for example, from 2007 to 2011, I lay off like 4 years there. So I don't just training and prepare for the next mission. I normally go for another adrenaline junkie. Like I went to New Zealand, I did my bungee jumping at Kawara Bridge. Like people do once, it's only 34 meters, but I did it twice in half an hour. And then I went one more time again before I went sailing with Robert Swan. I go to New Zealand again, I go for the highest bungee jump, which is 134 meters, which is at Nevis. That is even the craziest things I've ever done. But before that, 2004, before I go to North Pole, I went to Australia. Then I saw, of course, for training, and then I saw, hey, that's a skydive. Why don't I just pick up that? So I just register for 10 minutes. The training is only 10 minutes, and then but tandem. So I just go up. Then they said, which one you want to go? The 7 meters, 7,000 meters, 10,000, or the 14,000? I pick up the highest straight away.
Wow!
So I did that skydive. That's how I bring up back my adrenaline. So I get the momentum right.
Okay, so I want to talk to you about the North Pole. So, so that was, you said there was a bit of a break in between North and South.
Yeah.
But talk to me about the North Pole and how that differed from the South Pole.
Right.
Was it a more challenging expedition?
Oh yes.
Okay.
To me, North Pole is the most challenging. All right. The difference is that Antarctica is the whole thing is the ice continent. It's dry. It's the biggest and the driest ice continent in the world. Okay, the challenge is more on the extreme cold weather and the wind chill, all right, the katabatic wind. But North Pole, we are actually walking on a frozen, a floating iceberg. It's drifting and shifting every single second.
Wow.
So, like for example, on the third or third day, I was already walking about 8 kilometers. It's skiing. And then the next morning when I wake up, I have to put on my GPS. Then I realized that, hey, I've been drifted back with 4 kilometers. So the next day I have to walk again. That's what happened. Or sometimes we drifted to the sideways. It depends on the undercurrent water. So that is the most challenging. And then it's so thin, you can fall in the water anytime if you're not careful. And it's so difficult to find a flat surface which is thick enough for me to pitch up my tent and I can sleep well because my body heat can actually melt the snow under the tent. So after walking like 10 hours, I'm so tired and I have to really knock the iceberg, get the big kind of space, then enough to pitch my tent and I have extra space to put my sledge, then only I can sleep. So to look for that space, it took me like 1 or 2 hours and then pitch up again with the wind all over again. I'm facing the same challenge.
Wow. When we think about the differences between the North and the South Pole, what are, so not just geographical distances and the lay of the land, in terms of importance, in terms of scientific discovery and you know, just the extreme conditions of it, how would you describe it for us who've never ever imagined being there?
All right. Now, before that, I would like to add on that besides having the ice and the coldness, the coldness and the temperature and all that, there's two different things about Antarctic and Arctic. Like Antarctic, we can have cute penguins, which is at the peninsula. Okay, but in Arctic, we have polar bear, which is very dangerous, and I have to carry a Magnum .44 revolver to protect myself.
Because the threat is real. Okay, the risk is real.
I'm not worried about the male. I'm more worried about the female polar bear with the cub. They become very protective and they are very aggressive about it. So we must have that. But we're not going to shoot. We're just going to be a signal, shoot it on the sky just to chase them away. I counted 3 times, but I never shoot them. So.
Well, because you have witnessed polar environments firsthand, you are now a vocal and passionate climate action advocate. So talk to me about using your experiences as a polar explorer to raise awareness about the impact of climate change, particularly within the Arctic and Antarctic regions for a Malaysian crowd, because for us, these areas feel so far away, so far removed, we cannot imagine,
Can't even imagine, correct. So, you see, I am very vocal about climate change and I also focus more about the climate disasters. That's why for me, how I can reach out to the public is by creating my own method, by creating my own TikTok account, which is called Kiamat Iklim. In English, it's climate disaster. So because I feel that the public, when we talk about the same terminology, then they say, oh, it's so cliche, we heard about it long time ago.
There's a desensitization now, right?
Yes, correct. So when I changed the terminology, and I said Kiamat Iklim, then on the first day I on my TikTok, I got 40,000 become a follower on that day on spot. Then they said, what are you going to talk? And they are talking like, wow, I can't even read properly, like so many questions being asked.
Why do you think Kiamat Iklim resonated with the Malaysian audience? Is it because there's a finality, there is an urgency with the term Kiamat?
More to the urgency. More like creating, not really to make them scared, but to create a real aggressive awareness. I call it aggressive awareness. That you cannot be like so subtle. Oh,
you cannot be passive anymore, right? We have to act.
And we cannot be react to situation anymore. We have to be proactive because things are happening now. Okay. So I become a whistleblower by creating this TikTok account on Kiamat Iklim. That I know at first there's some kind of argument and people said, some people said, oh, I'm creating, making public panic attacks.
Scared.
And all that. But to me, a whistleblower, because when I came back from Antarctica with Sir Robert Swan, sailing to Peninsula Antarctica, it really an eye-opening, and I was so shocked to see that the whole iceberg at the peninsula is already dropping. It's already floating all over the ocean. So like the penguins are also suffering, that they are like, even whatever we see, that even the volcano already activating. When we went to the volcano area, the water is only like -5°C. We even did on the last day polar plunge.
Which would have been impossible a few years ago.
Which is impossible before.
Okay.
Like it's supposed to be like -20 at the peninsula, but now it's only -5.
So if you were to compare, say, the very first trip, 2004, and the last trip with Sir Robert Swan in 2022, compare for me the differences in what you observed.
A lot. It's like this. Okay, like for example, in 2004, when I went to Antarctica, at the base camp is like from the peninsula to the first base camp where they organized us before the expedition. They call it Patriot Hills. Now they changed to Union Glacier. So there, the temperature was -30 average. So I went into the South Pole again with the Protégé, all-women team. The average is -10. To me, it's warm.
Wow.
So I prepared the girls and my staff with the same thick layer of clothing.
You were expecting it to be as cold as previously.
Yes, but that was the mistake. Then I didn't realize that it's getting warmer. So when we reached the South Pole, before in 2004, I recorded -55. But then now, it was only like -40. Some days -35. So when I check the record on the system, when I contact to some people who I know in Antarctica, then they said, now during summer it's only -56, no more 69 and all that. And during night time it's total darkness. Way back in 2004, at night time it was -128°C. Night time, where there is no sun at all, it's total darkness for 6 months. You know that Antarctica is 6 months daylight, 6 months nighttime. Okay. When Antarctica in daylight, North Pole will be nighttime for 6 months. Then they switch. Alright. So during nighttime in Antarctica, just imagine -128°C during nighttime. Nobody can go out. Nobody. Even the researcher who were in the Arctic Research Center, Antarctica Research Center, US at South Pole, they are in the building using solar and all that. So now it's only -87, 89°C. There's a lot of gap there.
So I guess the North and South Poles, it's more extreme. You can see the effects, the immediate effects of climate change. You can actually measure, and it's really a barometer for how the planet is warming. What does that mean, though? So what does climate change impact on Antarctica mean for the rest of the world, for Malaysia even?
Right, very good. That's what I just presented just now. I showed that last December I received an article that the ozone layer on top of Antarctica has broken, and the size of it is 24 million kilometers. 24 million kilometers. Whereby Antarctica itself, from one side to the other end, is only 14 million kilometers. So it's double the size. It's like an umbrella up there, but it's an opening thing that the UV can actually penetrate into it. So what's going to happen? We expect more iceberg going to melt. We expect more seawater level going to rise. And this is so scary. So even I shared in my TikTok saying that recently there's the big iceberg from Antarctica has already broken and already sailed out from the Antarctic Ocean, and it's going to go very soon into the open sea. It's the iceberg named A23A, which is I already shared with everybody, and everybody knows about A23A. Every time I update the news, then I can see that the numbers of like up to 1 million, 2 million, and going to be 3 million. People like it because they want to know what's going on.
They're curious to know more.
Yes, to create more awareness. So now this A23 stuck in between two icebergs, and it's like spinning there. trying to find ways to go out. Once it managed to go out, it will definitely go into Drake Passage, and the big ocean is going to break into pieces.
That's the point of no return.
No.
Wow.
No return. And another one is just waiting to exhale. One more, they call it A83. So just waiting to break out from the mainland. So these are so scary. And end of this month, end of this September, Antarctica going to be daylight. So recently, I received this news from another researcher saying that it shows that during night time, Antarctica is not building and develop their snow very well. It's like lesser than previous year. So this is not a good news. And Antarctic, what they call skirting, is not developing at all. So you can see more water than iceberg. So this is not good as well.
So knowing what you know, and because you have experienced this firsthand, and I can feel the passion coming from you that you want to spread the knowledge and awareness of the impact of climate change. How do you keep yourself from being pessimistic or feeling like there is no point, there's no change, change is no longer possible? How do you advocate for positive change?
Okay. At first, I have to speak the public language. I simplify the terminology, like what I'm talking to you now. I make it simple for you to understand. Rather than I speak with the terminology, the Antarctic terminology, that you don't understand so much. I make comparisons so that public can see clearly. So like I'm talking about, okay, this is ozone. Whenever I go live on TikTok, I have my globe.
Oh, okay.
It's surprisingly, there are Malaysians who doesn't know where is Antarctica, where is North Pole.
Well, it helps them as a visual.
Yes, I show them, okay, this is Antarctica. Antarctica is the whole iceberg. South Pole is when you reach at the middle there. So I make it a simple way for them to understand. All right, and then I show them, okay, these are the consequences. When ozone is so big like that, it penetrated into the Antarctica. So Antarctica is going to melt, the seawater level is going to rise, and I give comparison this year to this year and to up to 2050. So add to that, I also have an opportunity to speak with the Russian scientists when the ambassador of Russia, ambassador to Malaysia, invited me to be in his office in Ampang, and they are celebrating the Geography Day, World Geography Day. So they want me to speak with their scientists via satellite, so which I did, and Astro AWANI came to become the main media to record it. So we are so happy exchanging our experience. I was out there and they are in the lab. So the communication was so jive, and then they agreed with what happened, what I'm sharing, and then they said, I want to add on one more information, which they give me a slide, which I showed just now. Like they said, look, Sharifah, by year 2050, this is our prediction, this is how we scale it up. If Antarctica melted 50%, 40 to 50% by year 2050, sea water level is going to rise very high, and if happen an earthquake and tsunami strike, so the height of the tide going to be 58 meters. So it's like 3 times higher than the tsunami that struck Aceh. So I use this information to create awareness with my followers, and they are worried about it. So I said, but don't worry, because my way of doing my TikTok, I tell them the story, but then I give them a solution. I know it's impossible to turn back. I make them understand it's impossible, but we can slow it down. Then they start to asking me, how to slow down? Because I'm worried about my kids, I'm worried about my cucu and all that. I said, that's a good point. I like that, because that is the main mission for me doing this. I'm not purposely going to make you afraid, but afraid to create awareness. So once you have the awareness, let's do work together. Right. So they are with me now. I said, stop using one-time plastic, stop using all these containers and that. Okay, stop buying food from outside. You cook yourself. Go green. All right, and then
think of your carbon footprint. Right.
Yes, and then and also I said, for those smokers, please don't simply throw away your cigarette butt. I did a program, a cigarette butt, hunting for cigarette butt. You just imagine within 1 hour, I did it with DBKL. 1.5 hours, we managed to collect about 7.5 kg
of cigarette butts.
Yes.
From being tossed in, like littered?
Yeah, littered.
Wow.
Simply littered. They said this is a mentality. Then I told them, first they said, why you go and hunt for the cigarette butt? I said, now you know that cigarette butt is the biggest rubbish in the world. Even though it's small, but it's the biggest rubbish in the world. They are going to pollute the whole world. And this is where you get clogging, you get flood, because it's stuck in between of the drainage.
Yeah. Dr. Sharifah, thank you so much for sharing your experiences and your observation and for being such a passionate advocate for climate action. I appreciate your work. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
That's all we have for you on this episode of The Future is Female. I'm Melisa Idris signing off for the evening. Thank you so much for watching and good night.
My pleasure. Thanks.